Hello, this is IDS Project submission. Our topic is Majestic wine data. So here we have collected data regarding wine. So it's an interesting analysis, firstly, and it is based on several key factors. And we have collected 560 wines from 9 countries, and we have classified them by names, na- by their names, number of ratings, and the number of people who have reviewed that wine, the number of positive rating, how many number have approved that wine with a positive feedback, the price of the wine, country of origin, where the brand was conceived, the philosophy of wine. So there are two different philosophies of winemaking. The one is the old world philosophy, and then there is a new world philosophy. So wine type is a column acknowledging that whether the right wine is red wine, white wine, rose wine, or fine wine. There is grape type and there is region. So I removed these two columns because they lacked relevance in the data and they had several null values. So that will not help. Then then there is a rating score. So rating score is nothing but just the ratio of the positive rating divided by the number of total ratings. So we'll get a score of every wine, and for this rating score we multiplied the ratio by 100 so that it will basically be it will be like points out of 100 for everything. These are the libraries which we imported: NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, and C1. So NumPy is basically for high-level mathematical functions on data, and Pandas is well known for data manipulation analysis. That's this use. Matplot library I've used for the plotting, and for statistical graphs in Python I've used C1 library here. This is the import, and there is also this here. So first of all, we have to pre-process the data so that the data could become more as relevant as it can possibly be. So if we have firstly checked that if there are any null values in the data, so this is true. So we have missing values and rows in data. Then this is the head of the data, the first 5 entries. This is like that, and it should be to obtain relevant data and avoid. So so to obtain relevant data we have deleted two columns, the region and grape thing, so that so like from empty data from other columns is also removed. So this leaves us basically with 400 wines with authentic data regarding them, and the columns are country, world, grape, region, rating, score. These are the 5 columns which have null values in them. So we have dropped grape and region here, and now the data head looks something like this. So ratings for comparison context, we multiplied the rating by 100 so that and rounded them to 2 decimal places. So rating score would look like this: 88.52. That's a score out of 100. That was just the data. The shape of data. So now finally we have data which is 400 rows big, and we are depicting 8 columns in that. So firstly, this is a code for finding different unique data types, unique wine types. This is white, red, fine, and rose. These are the 4 types of wine we are dealing with. And then this is a pie chart of all the 4 types. So here we can see that red wine and white wine constitutes the major wines, and then fine wine and rose wine are not that much. Their numbers are very few comparatively. Now, this is the minimum. This is the data of minimum numbers, minimum values. Everything is there. So we can see that the minimum price of the lowest priced wine is of $6, and the rating 0 out of 100 is the minimum score. Positive rating 0 and number of ratings 1. That's the minimum. This is the maximum. So maximum we have Number of ratings 1200, positive ratings like again approximately 1200, price is $260, and that, yeah, so that's it. Rating score is 100 out of 100. So on an average, this is the data mean. So on an average, you can see that 86% people have liked the wine they've reviewed, and average price is quite on the lower side of the maximum. So we can see that maximum price is over $200 and the minimum price is $6, and the average price is $16.966. So that's on the lower side of the scale. Median gives a better reflection because we can see that how many, what number of data, more than half or less than half. So we can see that almost half of the wines have rating score over 90. So people actually like wines. Now this is the variance and standard deviation here. That's expected, nothing strange here. Number of ratings, yeah, that's it, that's good. Now, yeah, this is the data summary. Number of ratings, like obviously we all the data have 400. All the redundant columns were removed initially only, and then that's the mean for everything, and nothing interesting here. I think, yeah, this is good. 75%, it's just 70. Number of rating is 70 for 75th percentile, but maximum it's almost 1300. So there are some wines which are really famous, really popular. People review them the most, but most of them are like really less. And same goes with the price. 16.99 is 75 percentile, but then maximum is 260. Now let's go with box plot of price versus wine type. So now this is a box plot which not really saying anything because everything is like really compressed down the side. So we have to remove this excess tire here to make any sense out of this data. We're doing that thing here. So now we are considering only data with price lower than 100. So like the whole this thing is zoomed to get this. Now we can analyze this thing. So we can see that fine wine on an average is more expensive. White wine, red wine, and rose wine, like they are cheaper versions, and fine wine is expensive. So yeah. Now we are looking at price versus country. So here we can see that the Chile, it's a country in South America, that's really low wine prices over there. So, and a country like Spain have a more variety. This is the number of the variety of the variation here. So people have broader spectrum of options, and in general I think Spanish wine is expensive as well. And here we can see that French wine have some expensive stuff as well. So this is really interesting. Now let's see price versus wine philosophy graph. So the old world wine is more popular. It's like a little bit more pricey. People pay more to get old world wine rather than the new world wine. Not that much of difference as well because it's quite same, but still there's a difference. So now let's see this. Yeah, let's see this. So this is data this wine type, price, and country. Like it's the price versus country graph. You can see the Australian wines are expensive. Australian fine wine is the most expensive, and fine wine in general is expensive. That we can see, that we can observe. And this is again, this is the rating score versus country. So here we can say that this thing, this is from New Zealand. The fine wine of rose wine of New Zealand is highest rated, 100 out of 100, and fine wine from Australia is lowest rated here, almost 50%. This is interesting because fine wine in Australia is the most expensive as well. So there is this thing. Now this is again a popularity versus price graph. So we can see that as the wine gets more expensive here, the number of people actually reviewing it or purchasing it goes severely down, and the highest number of people are generally for this thing. So that's this. The lower priced wines are more purchased and more reviewed. That is. Now price versus wine philosophy, we can see that old world are not really, the difference is not really significant here. No, this is not price versus wine. This is rating score versus the world. So the it's not significant. The difference, the average is almost same, but still we can see that old world is not, the new world is more appreciated, and the old world have slightly lower rating points, but that's not that much significant. Okay, so here we come. This is correlation. It shows that the positive rating and numeric rating goes hand by hand and increase simultaneously. We see that rating score and price don't really depend on each other that much, and it's not the impact is not that great. So yeah, this is it. So things are independent. Here slightly obviously rating scale will depend on positive rating. That's not surprising. So for the conclusion, we can actually say that the sales and yeah, so we've seen that the sales and popularity of any wine depends largely on the factors like country of origin. We've seen that Spanish wine and Chile wine have really huge gap between the price and all that. So obviously that's because of the people who demand that particular wine and wine type. Our philosophy of wine makes it more expensive than the new one. So our philosophical wine was slightly more expensive, and number of reviews indicate popularity obviously. So it's like more affordable wines are more preferred over the more expensive ones because the number of reviews for expensive one were really low, and countries make wine according to their customers. That's I've already said that some countries like Chile explicitly manufacture affordable wines. We have seen that the graph was really low, and it's a real contrast with Spain, which makes expensive wine. That's because of the demand. So yeah, Australian wine, fine wine on an average is the most expensive, but its review score is the least. So a higher price doesn't guarantee good reviews. That's something which we see. And yeah, correlation factor shows the overall rating does not depend greatly on its price. So expensive wine does not necessarily makes it a better choice for the average consumer. So this was the IDS project. Thank you. So thanks.